All right, now it's time to make our oxalic acid standard solution. So we called the oxalic acid our primary standard. When we made the sodium hydroxide, we made it a little bit approximate. Okay, we used a graduated cylinder. We just kind of poured it in. We made about 500 mils. We used about 100 mils of our 1 molar sodium hydroxide. In order to figure out our unknown acid later, though, we need to know the exact molarity of that sodium hydroxide. So we're going to titrate that with a primary standard. Our primary standard, we're going to know the exact number of moles because I'm going to use an analytical balance and weigh out a precise number of grams of a substance. If I know the molar mass, I can then do a grams to moles conversion, and I will know exactly how many moles of my acid I used. With my balanced equation, I can then do my grams to moles, and then moles to a concentration once I know how much of my sodium hydroxide I used for each titration. So let's make those solutions. All right, so I'm going to turn my balance on. Now my little analytical pocket balance here has multiple different modes, so I'm going to check. Yes, it's in grams. I'm going to go ahead and put my weigh boat on top there, and I'm going to hit the tare button. What that tare button does is it subtracts out the mass of that weigh boat so that I can just put my oxalic acid, and I'm using an oxalic acid dihydrate, so we have to make sure we account for those hydrates when we do the molar mass. But now I can just put this directly into the weigh boat, and I'll know how much I have. My instructions tell me I need about 0.15 grams. All right, so I'll put some in there. Oop, that's too much. All right, now, unfortunately, my little balance here is not nearly as good as the ones that we have in the labs at school. The labs at school, we can go out to about 4 decimal places. Mine only goes out to like 2, but it's better than nothing. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to add this picture to what I put up for you so you can see. There's my oxalic acid in my weigh boat, and there is my 0.19 grams. All right, so take a picture of that. Okay. It's not the most ideal way of doing this, but it works. Okay, so the other thing I need to do is I need to mark down in my data that I have 0.19 grams there. And then I'm going to label this particular flask for trial 1. Okay, there's trial 1. And now I'm going to pinch my weigh boat to make a little funnel here and slide it directly in there. Now I wanted to make sure that I have everything off of this weigh boat into that flask. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my deionized water. It says that we need about 20 mils of deionized water. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to put about 20 mils into my graduated cylinder. Okay, and it doesn't matter the exact amount of water because when we do our stoichiometry, it's a moles to moles comparison, not a concentration comparison. We just want to use enough water to do our dissolving, but not so much that we overfill the flask with it because the number of moles is now set. I have weighed out my oxalic acid. So it doesn't really matter if I use 20 mils, 25 mils, 17 mils, my number of moles is set. However, there's some trace amounts, you can't really see very well on here, but there's some trace amounts of the oxalic acid still stuck to this. I need to make sure all those come off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my graduated cylinder, I put my water in, I'm going to put some in there, and then pour it in through there. And now I have captured the rest of the oxalic acid that is on my weigh boat. And then I'll pour it into there. Okay. And then this can start dissolving. Okay. So I put this off to the side. All right. And I'm going to set up 2 more the exact same way. Now, what I'm going to do for the subsequent couple of trials is instead of just giving you my filled out data, I'm going to take images of what I do on my lab glassware. So that way, or lab equipment, so that way you can fill out your data tables based on my data. So there will be pictures to accompany the videos that you are watching. All right. So next up, once all these are done dissolving, is we'll actually start titrating.